Hey guys, my name is Stan Proko. Welcome to another critique episode of Proko. This time I'm going to be critiquing your deltoid assignments. The assignment was to take the photos I gave you and do quick sketch drawings of them, starting with the gesture to make sure that the anatomy that you add doesn't stiffen the pose too much. So starting with the gesture, then adding the simple forms and some more anatomical information of the deltoids. And if you haven't seen the deltoid lesson yet, go watch that first. It's going to help you know the basics of the deltoids before watching the critiques. And if you do like this video, I do about 16 critiques for 16 students. So there's a lot more stuff in premium. Head over to proko.com/anatomy. So let's go ahead and start. I'm going to start with Felix Gaffart. Okay, Felix. So your drawings are very good. This is going to be a really good opportunity to show you how, even though you're showing your forms very well, and you're keeping things, somewhat clean, and you're constructing very well, anatomy can stiffen your drawings quite a bit. Once you start adding all those forms and thinking about structure and mass, it tends to make everything stiff. You lose that flow, which is typically curvy and there's motion. So there has to be a good balance between the forms and the gesture. And this is an example of where you're doing great form, but you're losing the gesture. You could make your drawing so much better if you think about the dynamic nature of everything. Twisting, turning, curving. Sometimes straight could be part of the quality of it, and that's good. For example, something you did right in here is you added this acromion process. The acromion is a bony landmark on the shoulder. It's a great way of adding a corner, because right in here you have the trapezius, which is a curve, and then you have a deltoid, which are both curves. So adding a little straight in there in the corner boxes off the shoulders a little bit, or helps to box it off. So that's good, but then you kind of rounded it out there a little bit too much. I would have maybe constructed it with a few more straights, but you put it in there. A lot of people miss it completely, and that's not good. Okay, so with this one, you didn't start with the basic gesture. When I look at yours, I'm seeing it's kind of curvy, but overall it's pretty straight. When I look at this, I'm seeing a very dynamic curve through the bottom there. You see that? How the triceps dip and then it goes up over the knee. And then here you got the S curve of the deltoid. You can include that as part of the gesture, or you can think more of this. That's probably more accurate, and that's the simple gesture, because then that curve continues up the neck as well. So that curve of the deltoid is something that kind of goes against the gesture, and you just want to make sure that your forms feel like they continue that curve upward through the neck, even after you cover up a portion of that gesture with the deltoid. So let me do one up here. Let me start with the gesture. Okay, so there's the motion of the arm, much more motion than your straights in here. And actually, let me let me remove that so we're not distracted from it. Okay, I'm gonna switch to a different color because I got my gesture. I'll keep that red, and I'm gonna go over it. I'm gonna add some of the structure on top. As I add structure, I wanna make sure that I'm not losing the gesture. One way to do that is to keep your forms simple at first, because the more complex you make them, the less you're going to make them follow that curve. So at first, this is just a cylinder. Let's see, the scapula is all the way back there, blah, blah, blah. Okay, a few gesture lines for the deltoid. Notice how I'm not just putting a shape like that for the deltoid. I'm finding the gesture lines first. They're not symmetrical. This apex is over here, this apex is over here. It's at a diagonal. See the difference between just putting a football shape and something like that is that this has motion. This is straight and bubbly. Another thing that helps with you by putting the apex all the way back here is that I can curve this over that cylinder and show a cross contour. I love cross contour lines because cross contour lines can help with gesture, keep the flow going, and they can show the structure at the same time if you use them correctly. All right, come back here, triceps, they hang, and actually now I have to kind of carve into this elbow a little bit, add a little bit of gravity, but still making sure that my forms are following this overall gesture this way. Sometimes the initial curve, the S-curve I put, it might be a little bit off. So as I add the forms, I might need to change the gesture a little bit. Like, for example, I'm seeing that the ridge muscles would be way too far over if I followed that curve. So I'm gonna fix that in here. I'm gonna still keep that, you know, the idea of the S-curve, but I'm gonna fix it with my details and add ridge muscles. A little box for the wrist back there. But anyway, that follows the S-curve. I don't want to go too far down the arm now. Then after that, what we would start doing is showing like elbow. There's some straights in there. Straight at the acromion process, maybe a little bit of a straight in here to show a corner of the deltoid. Remember, we don't want to just design everything with curves. Once we start adding structure, we got to start looking for straights. This is a great area to do that. Elbow is a great area to do that. Okay, another thing, we would start adding probably some core shadows, some shading. And even that has to go with the gesture. Everything has to help the gesture. So I'm seeing core shadows running down the form here, and then there's that lateral head of the triceps that will be carved out. But even that, notice how I'm following the same curve as this in my core shadow, or a similar curve, and then in here, that's kind of a cross contour line for the cylinder of the arm. In the deltoid, I would show the roundness. In the deltoid, I would show the roundness over here. So a simple S-curve like that. And they're in here. It kind of shows a little bit of the separation between the posterior head and the lateral head. The rest of that is just tendon going up to the corner of the scapula. Even that, starting with some gesture lines. But anyway, notice how with this thought process and following that gesture structure idea, this looks a lot more dynamic than this. You got the right forms in there. You got all the right pieces. There's 3 heads in the deltoid. There's a tricep. There's an elbow, a forearm. But the way they're put together is it's just stiff. Okay, so when you're designing things, you really have to design. You got to construct. You have to figure out what's happening. You can't just copy and if you just make sure that all your anatomy attaches to the right spot on the bone, it's not enough. You really have to figure out the story of the picture. So I hope this helps you guys keep your anatomy dynamic, because what's the point of all of that anatomy if it hurts your drawing, right? All that extra knowledge making your drawing stiff, there's no purpose to it. You got to make sure that the anatomy improves your drawings, doesn't make them worse. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys learned something about keeping your anatomy dynamic. It's not just about lumps and bumps all over the body. It's a lot more about telling a story, figuring out the body language and the movement through all the forms, keeping them unified. They all have to come together to create one picture. Don't make all these individual bumps everywhere. That's really what I think making dynamic art is all about. It's focusing on all that other stuff, not just about the lumps, but all the other stuff that unites all the lumps. So anyway, thank you guys for submitting these critiques. As always, it's a pleasure to have you guys participate in the class, and I look forward to seeing your assignments for the next lesson. All right, thanks guys. What's better than Proko videos? Premium Proko videos. If you want to see more drawing examples, go to proko.com/anatomy. I have several more examples which serve as the answers to the assignment from the last lesson. Get a Proko knowledge smackdown at proko.com/anatomy. Hey, have you seen my new app, Skelly, the posable anatomy model for artists? Go to proko.com/Skelly app or click this button to get it on iOS or Android. And don't forget to share this video. It really helps me out, and it lets me make these videos better and better. Thanks.